good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. On behalf of the British-Kazakh Society, together with our partner today, the Department of International Trade in the UK, it's a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar, which will be entitled An Introduction to Agribusiness in Kazakhstan. The webinar will be video recorded, so it will be available to you on the website at a later point. And also I'll note for you that at the bottom of your screen, you can choose Russian or English channel for the presentation when it's appropriate. So we have a very impressive panel today, and if I might say, we have a great moderator for you. So with that, I'll pass you over to our chairman of the British-Kazakh Society, Rupert Goodman.
Well, David, thank you very much indeed. And as chairman of the British-Kazakh Society, it gives me enormous pleasure to add my welcome to you all for this important BKS webinar, which, as David said, is focused on agribusiness in Kazakhstan and is conducted in association with the DIT. As you all know, the British-Kazakh Society aims to promote the best of relations between Britain and Kazakhstan, including highlighting trade and investment opportunities, and indeed promoting cooperation between government, finance, and industry. We therefore act as a conduit between the two countries, and we place a strong emphasis on promoting understanding about an array of business opportunities. So this webinar on agriculture falls squarely within our remit. With its geographic location in Central Asia, modern Kazakhstan has developed a key international role. Kazakhstan has a significant arable and livestock sector and is one of the world's largest wheat producers. I'm particularly grateful to David D Skeels for bringing this important webinar to fruition and organising what is clearly a stellar array of speakers. So thank you, David, for that. Thank you also to our membership secretary, Jean Toit, and to all our distinguished panelists. I'm especially thrilled that Ross Murray has agreed to be our moderator today. Ross is a key figure in the UK agriculture industry. He is a former president of the Country Land and Business Association, which is the main body representing UK rural landowners. He is currently chairman of the rural asset management business of Knight Frank, the international property consultancy, and Ross is also a very successful farmer and forester living and working in Wales. So thank you, Ross, for moderating this session, and I pass over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you, Ross.
Well, Rupert, thank you very much indeed, and a very good morning to everybody, or perhaps good afternoon, depending on which time zone you are in. We've got a very strong audience from around the world with a keen interest in British and Kazakh affairs, and I think that's very, very welcome. I've got 6 really interesting speakers, and I will introduce you to them all one by one. My primary role is to be the sheepdog today, so I will help the speakers with their presentations and with questioning and try and make this an informative and lively affair, and I know it will be. And could I just say on a personal note, I have never been to Kazakhstan, but I've been reading up extensively in preparation for today, and it sounds the most fascinating and wonderful country, and I look forward to visiting very much indeed. So there we go. Well, our first speaker this morning is Timur Tilinin, who is the Deputy Chairman of the Management Board of Kazakh Invest. And Timur, if you would please, could you now give me your presentation, and then we'll follow it with some questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Let me welcome you on behalf of Kazakh Invest and express my gratitude for the opportunity to present the main niches in the agriculture sector of Kazakhstan for investment. Next slide. Speaking about the industry as a whole, it is necessary to note its huge potential. Since the total agriculture land in the Republic is more than 210 million hectares, including arable land about 25 million hectares, and pastures almost 180 million hectares. Therefore, Kazakhstan in the future can play an important role in stabilizing and improving the food situation in the world. In addition, measures have been taken to support investors and open up new markets, export markets. For example, now the Chinese market is open for lamb, beef, fish, honey, dairy products, as well as wheat, soybeans. Saudi Arabia is open, for example, for our lamb, beef, leaf animals. Also, we can export meat and meat products, chicken, eggs, and poultry to the United Arab Emirates. In addition, state support measures is being implemented to reimburse 25% of investment in priority areas of the agro-industrial complex. Also, the state has introduced a set of investment preferences such as exemption from corporate tax for up to 10 years, exemption from property tax up to 8 years, exemption from customs duties on imported equipment and raw materials. The provision of state-in-kind grants, land, buildings, constructions, equipment, and other preferences. Next slide. After analyzing our advantages, we identified several of the most promising areas in the industry that are directly related to import substitution and export development. There are production and processing of meat and milk, production and processing of fruits and vegetables, including greenhouse and vegetables, processing of oilseeds and grains. For example, why is it profitable to invest in meat farming in Kazakhstan? Firstly, the availability of pasture land for livestock breeding is about 180 million hectares, of which only 30 is used today. At the same time, 110 million hectares are provided with underground and surface waters. Secondly, there is the availability of sufficient labor force. Almost half of the country's population live in rural areas and are ready to work in this industry. Thirdly, a stable and prosperous episodic situation in the country. Fourth, the presence of open export markets. For example, nearby countries import about 2 million tons of meat annually. There is also potential for the production of dairy products. We produce about 5 million tons of raw milk annually, but it's not enough to cover local demand. So mainly we import milk from Russia. Given transport costs from Russia to Kazakhstan and a lower average labor cost in our country, local products have the potential to replace important dairy products from Russia. In addition, this year, the Chinese market was open for export of milk and dairy products from Kazakhstan. It is market about 2 million tons of milk and dairy products annually. I have limited speaking time, but if you are interested in any direction in agriculture, we will be happy to provide detailed information. So, next slide. Given the potential of these areas, annually Kazakh Invest, together with state bodies and akimats, conducts work to search and select niche projects among local businesses for further offers to investors. With the involvement of reputable consulting agencies such as Deloitte and PwC, selected niche projects are packaged according to the international standards. Packaging includes the development of business plan, financial model, and teasers, containing complete information on the project, from the availability of raw materials, infrastructure, and to potential markets. Today, Kazakh Invest presents about 40 packages projects in the agriculture sector. At the same time, I want to emphasize that reviewing projects, we are guided by two main principles. The first is an active local partner. The second is the economic attractiveness of the project. Those almost all niche projects have a potential partner. In addition to this, I would like to add there are agreements with a number of financial institutions that are ready to provide assistance in financing. Because Kazakh Invest, according with our mandate, are ready to provide assistance from the idea to the full implementation. We hope to fruitful cooperation in the field of investment. Thank you for your attention.
Timur, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for a very crisp and efficient presentation. And I think there's much for the audience to reflect on and be in touch. I have a question for you. You have laid out some of the incentives to the overseas investor in Kazakhstan. Could you just tell us about what levels of protection, rule of law, etc., there are for the investor in Kazakhstan, please?
Investment protection is our top priority today of Kazakh investor. We already have achieved some success in this area. We carried out major reforms that affected almost all aspects of investment. For example, last year we launched International Financial Center Astana, and it has a special court. The AFC court is separate and independent from the Kazakh judicial system. It has its own court of final appeal, its own procedural rules, a special fast track for small claims. Its decisions are supported by a robust enforcement system within Kazakhstan. We had to make amendments to our constitution and adopt over 50 laws to make it happen. We enjoy great trust among investors since we gained our independence. Total FDI inflows to Kazakhstan reached 340 billion USD. This is over 50% of FDI inflows in Central Asia countries. Also, Kazakhstan joined the investment committee and becomes the 48th country that joined the Declaration of International Investment and Multinational Enterprises. This is a sign of great confidence in Kazakhstan and shows that Kazakhstan investment climate meets high international standards.
That's a very good answer. Thank you very much. And I am sure that will be reassuring. Timur, we may have some more questions for you at the end, but I'm now going to move on, if you would kindly mute yourself, please, to our second presenter, who is Tatyana Blazhiyevich, who works at the UK Embassy in Kazakhstan, and she is a trade officer employed by the Department of International Trade. And Tatyana, I would like you, please, to give us an overview of the links between the agricultural sector in the UK with the offering of commercial opportunities in Kazakhstan. Please, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, Ross, thank you very much. And I'm pleased to be here with all of you. Good afternoon or good morning to all our audience. And first of all, I would like to make some notes about why Kazakhstan, why it would be interesting for the UK exporters to try to do business here. First of all, I have to note the ambitious plan of the Kazakh government to diversify its economy and exports. And as it was already mentioned by the previous presenter, the Kazakhstan is already have a very well established links with the China and other countries in terms of the exporting. And also it is worth mentioning the state program for the development of the agro-industrial complex, which started 3 years ago and still ongoing. And the next plan of the program is being drafted currently. The third key thing is that the World Bank allocated the loan of 500 million USD to develop the Kazakhstan Sustainable Livestock Program, and it is being in progress since this year and until 2024. And of course, the entire situation with the coronavirus pandemic indicated how important the food safety and the agriculture sector as well as a whole. Then I would like also to share some key facts with you about the agriculture. As some of you might know, that the largest agricultural subsector is a crop production, and it accounted for almost 60% of the total agricultural output of the country.
Различные культуры, различные зерновые и так далее. 60% составляет почти всего сектора. Второе – это молочная продукция, да, и молочная продукция составляет 16%.
Mentioning that the Kazakhstan is the world leading exporter of wheat and flour, and it produces about 19 million tons per year. Then the livestock is also another key subsector of the agriculture, and it produces quite extensive amount of meat, milk, eggs, and wool. There are also some tips to advise to the potential exporters of doing business in Kazakhstan, that the most popular route to the market would be via the local distributor or agents. Then locally registered companies and branch offices are the most common entities to establish. There are some challenges exist, however, and it could be related to customs regulations. The main areas of the opportunities for the UK exporters are the following, like investment in irrigation systems and associated infrastructure, wholesale distribution centers, dual education for livestock farmers, livestock digital tracking and reporting system, then dairy farming equipment and expertise is also one of the key things that could be of the opportunities. Then intensive beef farming using feedlots, semen exports, livestock development and meat processing, live cattle and sheep exports, then precision agriculture, food processing, and also the process optimization technologies that would help to produce the environmentally friendly organic products. I would like also to talk about the support that DIT can provide to the UK exporters who are willing to explore the local market. First of all, it is the trade missions that we are organizing both onwards and outwards. That means that we can bring the Kazakh companies to the UK to meet with the potential partners and vice versa, bringing the UK companies here to explore the local market and meeting with the potential partners. Thus, 2 years ago, in 2018, we organized a visit of Kazakhstani farmers to Northern Ireland. And this year we had the ever first agri-tech trade mission to Kazakhstan around the agri-tech farm tech exhibition. Unfortunately, given the current situation, we're unable to travel and bring in the delegates with ourselves, but we hope that in the nearest future the situation will improve and we will resume our plans traveling overseas and bringing the delegates from there. Another strand of the DIT support is the individual market research. This could be about identifying interested end users and also the potential distributors and agents for your products, as well as arranging the program of meetings with those who expressed an interest in your offer. The cost of such a service may vary, and this would depend on the number of hours which we allocate to do the research and the complexity of the order. Thank you very much. If you will have any questions, you're more than welcome to address them.
Tatyana, thank you very much indeed. That was very clear. I was fascinated by those statistics you gave. The output of agriculture is clearly incredibly significant and allows great opportunities for trade. I have one question for you. Could you please very briefly describe any barriers to trade? I understand that COVID-19 is an inconvenience at the moment. Do you envisage any trade issues arising around Brexit that should concern the investor, please?
Well, there might be some actually trade barriers that we consider, and most of them are related to the export health certificates currently that are being introduced for the live cattle export. But currently we are negotiating this with the Ministry of Agriculture and with the Committee of Veterinary Supervision and support under the Ministry of Agriculture, and hopefully we are progressing, because we aim to finalize all the agreements by the end of this year. So after the transition period is over, we hope that all the health certificates will be re-agreed with the UK, between the UK and Kazakhstan.
That's very helpful. And of course, export health certificates is not unique to Kazakhstan. It's a problem that UK farmers have all over the world. So it's a well-known challenge. Thank you very much indeed, Tatyana. If you would kindly mute, and I will move on to our third speaker, who is Timur Ayapbergenov. And Timur is the Chief Executive Officer of the Development Fund of Agriculture. And this next presentation will be in the Russian language. And Timur, I'd be very grateful if you could start your presentation now. Thank you very much indeed on investment.
Доброго времени суток. Я хочу пожелать всем здоровья.
Hello. I would like to wish all of us, all the speakers, all the audience, all the listeners. As for our fund, we have organized our fund in November 2017. We have registered the area of International Financial Center Astana. We follow the English law and English and Welsh law, the case law, you know. So what our fund is, so we're going to show you the presentation right now. You can see the model here, the ecosystem. Our franchise implies financial and non-financial support to the farmers from the beginning of seeding up to crop harvesting and selling of the yield, according to the estimates of our analysts. So in order to implement our project, we need about $7 billion US. According to the cash flow, our payback period is about 5 years, NPV is $1.6 billion, and IRR is 18%. As for the current to-date activities, we have already invested in procurement of the best seeds from Canada. Why from Canada, you may ask? Because the scientists believe, and both, I mean, a Canadian and Kazakh scientists confirmed that our climates are very similar, very identical. So in 3 farms, we have planted the seeds and we already received the outcomes. The yield, which was higher than anything you can have in Kazakhstan, and that actually demonstrated that we can have the yield that would be higher, 400% higher than the current average yield amount. So on top of that, we have announced a campaign in social media for the potential participants of our contest that were invited youth between 21 and 35. We understand that professionals in agricultural sector is key if we want to succeed as a project. And in 6 years, we have collected 3,000 applications of those who want to study and to be the picking machine master or combiner or some farmer of some sort. So the franchise, under the franchise, our fund will allocate 5 million hectares with 5,000 hectares per one farmer. So 5,000 hectares is the most efficient or the most manageable amount of land that one farmer can master. So we have so far concluded memorandums with large-scale investment funds. Our fund meets 16 out of 17 sustainable development goals. Well, all in all, we believe that this project can be successful, and we already can see some feedback that it's good, it's needed, and I think it's now time to take this agricultural sector of Kazakhstan to a higher level while using the new technologies, using the new approaches. Well, now we're using Zoom, but in order to make it more viewer friendly, we made a short video that explains in great detail all the mechanisms, everything that we have in our fund. So if you're interested, I can send you the link. Well, and that is all I had to say. I had in mind, yeah, I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Timur, thank you very much indeed. Very interesting presentation. 5,000 hectares per farmer is very generous and a great opportunity. In England, we would love to have 5,000 hectares per farmer. Very interesting. A quick question for you. Where are you getting your funding from at the moment for your projects? You mentioned $7 billion.
На текущий момент, еще раз повторю, мы в 3 ведущих агрохозяйствах.
We already, with our own funds, with our own capital, we have planted the seeds of certain cultures from Canada. We already multiplied them. However, we plan to, I cannot so far give you the names, unfortunately, due to some reasons, due to some constraints. But if someone attending this very session and willing to be a potential investor, we can disclose more of our plans and we can show which exactly plans are interested in investing with us. Because this is not just a project, this is a national idea. if I may say so. That is why, well, some information is sort of restricted.
Thank you very much indeed, Timur. Good answer, and we understand. I'm now going to move on to my next speaker, who is Kanat Yermekbaev. And Kanat is very lucky because he's studying for his PhD at the John Innes Centre at Norwich in the United Kingdom, which is a world-renowned research station. And his subject is a research example of cooperation to strengthen wheat breeding in Kazakhstan. I must add that he is actually a research scientist at the Institute of Plant Biology and Biotechnology at Almaty in Kazakhstan. So, Kanat, over to you, please.
Good morning. Thanks, Ross. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, who's from Kazakhstan. So it's a great honor for me to be part of this panel. Thanks to the BKS for the invitation. If you ask me about the agriculture sector in Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan has enormous agriculture potential, which unfortunately is not being used properly. Many national agricultural strategic programs have been introduced, but despite small success and nice statistical outcomes, almost all have failed. Nobody is guilty, neither government nor scientists. It seems government is allocating enough funding to support local agribusiness, and the scientists are striving to enhance the productivity of local agricultural commodities. So who to blame? To me, the model, actual algorithm doesn't work to make Kazakhstan's agriculture sector great again. There is a huge miscommunication between government, business, and the science. In order to develop Kazakhstan's agriculture sector, proper model which connects these three needs to be designed and introduced. Okay, I'm not a policymaker or businessman to do so, but I'm a plant scientist which can elaborate on a little bit scientific reasons why science is less helpful of agribusiness and what should be done and how that what needs to be done. So the main reason why science is less supportive of farming sector are paucity of funding, shortage of well-trained and experienced research staff. The most important one that there is a disconnection among and between geneticists and the plant animal breeders. Here, our experience and collaboration with UK plant geneticists and scientists can be a nice example of international partnership to iron out those accumulated problems in Kazakhstan's agriculture sector. So what we have done so far, we developed a hybrid population, which is called mapping population scientifically, because it was developed in a certain way to find the genes, important genes, and map them. We have created its genetic map. What genetic map is means, it is the graphical representation of all genes which that mapping population possesses. And what we have done so far, we found two interesting genes which we hypothesize which drives adaptation of wheat in Kazakh environment, and which came from Kazakh variety, and we very precisely delivered those varieties into those genes into wheat variety from the UK in order to test its performance in Kazakhstan, and we put those two genes into one plant in order to make UK variety even better. Then we have tested our new lines in North, Central, and South Kazakhstan. As you can see from the bar plot, using our new lines, we increased yield by 20% at maximum and minimum 12% comparing to local Czech variety. But this is from South Kazakhstan, which is not the main wheat growing area. For us, the main question is how our lines will perform in North Kazakhstan, this is still question mark as we haven't received the data yet. So with this, I want to acknowledge my supervisory team and you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Kanat, thank you very much indeed. That was a very good presentation, and it is so refreshing to hear the application of science, because it's surely through science that we will produce greater food yields for our population in the future. You implied in one of your comments that plant breeders in Kazakhstan are not yet ready for change. Is there a resistance, a psychological resistance, shall we say, to the use of genetic modification, perhaps?
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Ross. Actually, why breeders are less interested? Because they are less informed, or less informed about the advantage of next generation plant breeding methodologies, or they are poor. They can't afford buying all these costly equipments and wet chemicals to do such kind of genomic selection in their kitchen, let's say. So that's why what I would suggest, we have to establish a center for genomic breeding, which the main purpose of which is centralizing all plant breeding, entire plant breeding in Kazakhstan. The main purposes are that center will provide a service to all breeders and the agri companies. Let's say the genomic services, starting from DNA extraction or finishing with constructing those genetic maps and finding important genes. This is something I would suggest to solve this problem.
Very interesting, and that would be exciting, and maybe John in his centre could help with that experiment in your own country. That would be very exciting. We're doing well for time, so I'm going to ask you a second question. What if new wheat lines will not increase those yields in northern Kazakhstan? Have you considered that?
Very interesting question. If our new lines will not increase in yield in North Kazakhstan, which is the main wheat growing area, anyway, we are in win-win situation, because finding important adaptation genes and delivering them precisely into the second wheat variety, which to my knowledge, something hasn't been done, not only in Kazakhstan, as well as in all former USSR countries. So here, experience is essential, I would say.
Thank you very much indeed, Kanat. That was a good presentation, and we may come back to you. I'm now going to move on to our fifth speaker this morning, who is Maxim Izemsyev, who works as the regional representative in Russia, Kazakhstan, and other countries in the region for a UK firm called Milkrite, who, as the name of the company suggests, is involved in investment in the dairy sector and in bringing new technologies to Kazakhstan. So I would like Maxim, please, to give his presentation, if he would, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will provide a brief introduction of our company, Milkrite Interpulse. I represent this company. It's a British company, well known in the dairy business as a leader providing manufacturing the milking liners, milking clusters, and hoses and rubber materials. As you can see, the timeline of our history, very long, established very long ago, 135 years ago, and still exists the same name, Avon Rubber. Our dairy business, dairy solutions, started 93 years ago, and this huge experience still continues with the modification of sub-brands like Milkrite, and after connection with Interpulse company located in Italy, it becomes a larger name, Milkrite Interpulse, since 2015. And our development is going on further. For the 6 countries I'm responsible for, in Kazakhstan we already operate 10 years. and going to develop this deep cooperation even more successfully, cooperating with farms, dairy farms. Shortly on the slide, you can see our locations worldwide. One of the factory in Great Britain, another factory is in Italy, and facilities and operations in USA, China, Latin America, Brazil. We cooperate and operate on the CIS countries directly from our factories, from distribution center in Czech Republic for any rubber material, and for automation and components from Italy, from Italian warehouse and manufacturing plant. Basically, that's all.
Maxim, thank you very much indeed. I believe you have finished. I can't hear you speaking, so we will hold your presentation there. Maxim, could you tell us whether the dairy sector in Kazakhstan has its cows inside or outside, and is there a concern over pollution of water? If you can hear me, could you answer the question, please?
Yeah, I can hear you well. Thank you for the question. I will use my next slide just to answer on this question. Just to compare all CIS countries in this table, if we exclude Russia and look at the second and further rows, Kazakhstan, according to the commercial milk production, is the second country after Belarus, so producing up to 5 million tons, as already mentioned by previous speakers. And Belarus, this table shows only half year, this actual 2020 till July. Just simply multiply by two. This table provided by Dairy News Russia Analytics Center. So briefly, if in Belarus we have 15,000 farms, milk dairy farms, in Kazakhstan we have at least 2 times less, but it's significant amount we can do business with and develop our progress in cooperation with the country. Any information you can find on our website, extensive information, including you can choose any language, including Russian, to find the information, extra information. Thank you. I finished the question.
Maxim, thank you very much indeed. That was a good presentation, and thank you for being so succinct. And I'll now move on to our 6th speaker, who is Maxat Baktibayev, who is the head of the Meat Union of Kazakhstan, who is going to introduce his subject, which is the agricultural industry situation in Kazakhstan and meat industry development and challenges. Maksut, if you would like to come in, please.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for the meeting. I would like to show the briefly presentation about Kazakhstan agriculture industry and this particular meat industry, because our Meat Union of Kazakhstan is non-government association which is responsible for support of participants of our industry, including breeders, feedlots, meat processing plants, traders, importers, and others services. So generally about the resources, as you may already know, Kazakhstan has 5th place in the world with 188 million hectares of pastures, which is right after the Brazil. So at the moment we use only 30% of the pastures, but the potential is very high. So we compared all the industries all across like crops, dairy and pork, and we found out that beef and lamb industry is most potential in terms of export revenue and scaling. So regarding the cropland, we have got the 10th place in the world, which allows us to supply our meat industry with own feeds and forages, and especially out of this, 2.5 million hectares are ready for irrigation. So, and 45% of all population lives in a rural area, and out of them 200,000 farmers and 10,000 enterprises, big enterprises. One more important point which I want to set off is organic production. Kazakhstan is traditionally used low level of pesticides, and it allows us to be certified for organic production very easily. My neighbor companies is already certified for European Union and selling the wheat and other oil seeds with very high price to Europe right now. Very high state support, including subsidies, tax incentives, and other. And export opportunities, my colleagues already explained about China, which is next door, Russia, which in Union, Eurasian Union, Iran and Gulf countries. So very high export potential. Regarding the business, we already have got a lot of inquiries from other companies which ask us what is the best project to invest. So we choose several. For example, from beef and lamb industry, the best projects would be feedlots for 10 to 20,000 heads. For pork and dairy, I would say the best opportunities right now in pig farms, because to African swine fever, China price for pork has been grown maybe 2-3 times, and Kazakhstan has got a status from OIE, which is states that Kazakhstan is AHS free, so we can easily build pork factories and export to China, because last October our Ministry of Agriculture has been signed agreement with Chinese custom inspection, which allows us to export either chilled or frozen pork. And
Maksut, can I just come in there and hold you? We're not seeing your excellent slides, and I wonder if it's possible for you, whilst you're speaking, just to bring up your slides, because I think they're very good and the audience would like them. See if you can do that and then carry on.
Okay. You see it? Okay.
Very good. Well done. Thank you. You carry on.
Apologize. I was thinking it was running. The next, sorry. So we run in 2018. We started 10 years program for livestock industry development, which states increasing the family farms for beef and lamb from 20,000 to 100,000 farmers. And government provides land, government provides incentives and cheap credits for 15 years with 4% interest rate, which would allow increasing the pasture usage from 58 million hectares to 100 million. And the most essential is that the number of cows and sheep would be doubled from 7 million to 15 million and from 18 million to 30 million respectively. This means that other type of businesses like feedlots and processing and exporters may have a very good opportunity to start their own business. So just to some people who has got some particular interest in the beef industry, we have been comparing the competitiveness of Kazakhstan and Australia, and compared to export of China, we have got the advantage in $200 per head. So we have got all this free land is almost free, low labor cost and low taxes, and low cost for irrigation for forages. And the logistics is very low, very close. And I would like to pay attention for the irrigation projects, which is also very attractive. Kazakhstan has got about 10 million cubic meters water from rivers and reservoirs, which is ready to use for irrigation. And the investments per hectare would be about $5,000, and the return would be $1,000 minimum. For example, we made it an alfalfa export. For example, China is importing a lot of alfalfa from Brazil, from United States, and from other countries. But as I said before, we are next door. So when we grow alfalfa and sell it to China, we can easily get $1,000 per hectare. So it's we would like to share all detailed information. We as a BKS, if somebody is interested, please drop an email to the British-Kazakh Society official email, and we would send all the detailed presentation. Thank you very much.
Maksut, thank you very much indeed. And I'm glad we got your slides because they really do demonstrate the picture. I was very struck by that price analysis between your own beef production and that in Australia. That is a compelling difference in price. And I'm sure your markets like that. A couple of questions for you quickly, please, if I may. You talked about organic production. Is there a demand for organic produce from your biggest customer in China?
Not yet. The main demand comes from European Union, especially from the oil processors who produce the organic oil for, for food. So the cost for organic oil seeds might be 2 to 2.5 times higher than regular one.
Sure. Okay, that's helpful. And I'd like to ask you about breed of cattle. And before you answer this question, you must remember that I am a Scotsman. Which do you favour, Aberdeen Angus or Hereford?
I am a chairman of Angus Association as well, so the answer is obvious. But I would be honest with you. Both breeds are very have got very good how should I say presence in Kazakhstan. During the last 10 years, we imported about 200,000 heads from Europe and Australia and United States, but 85% are Angus and Herefords. I wouldn't share with you which part of this is Angus and Hereford, but I already told you the answer.
Is there a native breed in your country?
Yes, absolutely. Native breed, we call it Kazakh Whitehead, but honestly, it's been driven from 3 breeds. One of them is Hereford. In 1950s, it came from Uruguay, and it was joined with local breed, and now we have Kazakh Whitehead, which is, we call it small sister of Hereford. But and good advantage is that they are very, very stress. So they're very good in our conditions. They can drink water, snow, even.
They're very calm, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Thank you very much indeed, Maxut. That's a very good answer to my questions. You mentioned infrastructure, and I'd like to go back to Timur Tilinin, if I may, please. Timur, could I ask you about this whole question of infrastructure in Kazakhstan? You are an enormous country, and your supply lines are very long. Could you tell me how Kazakhstan as a nation is trying to solve the challenge of logistics infrastructure to allow you to develop the country's export potential, please? Timur Tilinin.
Yes, thank you for the question. Kazakhstan has direct access to the market of more than 500 million consumers, including the countries of Central Asia, Western China, and the countries of Caspian Basin. One of the key advantages of Kazakhstan is its favorable geographical position between Europe and Asia, which determines its significant transport and logistics potential. Strategically, it links the large and fast-growing markets, 65% of GDP of China and Southeastern Asia, and those of Middle East and Western Europe by automobile and railroads, as well as the ports on the Caspian Sea. Thanks to the existing multiple transcontinental roads, Kazakhstan is one of the most important participants on the Belt and Road Initiative. On the border with China, a modern dry port has been created and it's functional and under Ses-Khargos East Gate. The dry port in connection within the Western Europe, Western China highway, modern railway service, and the port of infrastructure in Caspian Sea, urban transport and logistics hub that efficiently distributes all types of cargo flow. Therefore, Kazakhstan is often described as a buckle of the belt because the logistics and transportation infrastructure provided by Kazakhstan alone, this new Silk Road is facilitating trade between East and West.
Timur, thank you. Could I ask you a supplemental question? And it's relevant to the difficulties we are all experiencing worldwide around COVID-19. Could you just tell us how visa support for any potential investors in our audience today is carried out for foreign investors?
Yes, currently the entry of foreign citizens requires the approval of a specially created independent departmental commission to prevent the spread of coronavirus infection in the Republic of Kazakhstan. At the same time, given the importance of developing investment cooperation, our company has created a separate department for service support, which provides visa support of foreign investors and companies. For instance, from the beginning of this year, Kazakh Invest has received about 73 requests from investors on visa and migration issues, of which 98% have been resolved positively.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm now going to turn back to Kanat, if I may. Kanat, of course, new modifications of plant variety is being used throughout the world to combat climate change. You will be very conscious of the discussion around climate change in the United Kingdom, particularly in Norfolk, where you are currently studying and researching. Could you please comment to our listeners how you perceive climate change impacting on Kazakhstan generally and what the implications are for plant varieties, please?
Yeah, very good question, actually. So climate change is one of the main important aspects to consider in plant breeding. Even though we don't see such much change with our naked eyes in the environment, it is something huge for the plants. So that's why we are working in this field. So I read an article regarding to Kazakhstan. I read an article from, I think, World Bank or something. They are expecting huge environmental change in that area by 2050s or 40s or maybe 30s. So it is very important topic, not only for Kazakhstan, also for the world, to secure world. So that's why the integration of science between developed and the developing countries is, I think, is the nice way of battling these kind of problems.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that's a very important sentiment. I'm going to reserve the last question to our lady, Tatyana, please. Tatyana, could you please just comment on your enthusiasm for relationships between Kazakhstan and Britain and how you see at the embassy the discussion going between the governments, between the society, and indeed between investors? Are you very excited about a new period of investment from the UK into Kazakhstan, please?
Oh yes, Ross, thank you very much for this question. But speaking about the investors, as DIT, we do not work closely with them. So on this, I'm afraid I do not have much to say about. But speaking about the development of the relationships between the two countries, we do see the opportunities there. But given that we as DIT are mostly focused currently on such major sectors as oil and gas, mining and financial services, agriculture is still as an emerging sector for us. But I think that the step which we've taken in this March, having the first agri-tech trade mission to Kazakhstan, paved the way for further development of our relationships. And if you ask me about how the two governments communicate between each other, we envisage to have the Intergovernmental Commission this year, and Kazakhstan will be hosting it. this time, and we hope that we'll be having the work group within the Intergovernmental Commission, but it is still to be confirmed. Hopefully it will be the first time when it will happen.
Tatyana, thank you very much indeed. And with that, I'm going to draw to a conclusion the question and answer session from this webinar. I think we've had 6 really interesting presentations. The contact details of all the speakers are on the slides, which you can reference after this. And indeed, the whole session has been recorded. Please do share it with friends and colleagues and potential investors. I think this has been a very important step in the furthering of the relationship between Britain and Kazakhstan. And on that note, I'm going to thank you all indeed. It's been a great pleasure to moderate this session, and I'm going to hand over for some concluding remarks to David Skeels. David, over to you.
Thank you, Ross. I'd like to just thank everyone for making this a very special event today. From Rupert, who dropped by for the introductions earlier on, our very impressive moderator today, Ross, all of the panel, and also the 2 people that you see less of here, Jantois with his managing Zoom in the background, and Gaini in Almaty making the translation. So thank you all for making it a great event. Just to comment on future British-Kazakh Society events, we're from response we've had today, we're looking forward perhaps, or planning another agribusiness event, probably focused on livestock, and that will be at the end of January next year. In addition, later this year, we have mining, renewables, and financial services event. So we encourage you to look at the website to see the notices for those, and look forward to seeing you all at the next British-Kazakh Society event. Thank you very much.
Thank you.